Simon Told Helen wins a half length. Zach Manelli second.
Welcome to Greyhound Gossip.
Peaky Blinders start cheering for Tommy Shelby wins the WA Sprint Championship final.
Featuring Peter O'Neill.
Mozza moves up to Mermaid Manelli. Fab's Gem 3 deep. Here comes Fab's Gem.
Hard Style Rico by 5 lengths to Simon Told Helen. Third Tommy Shelby.
This segment is dedicated to the discussion and promotion of greyhound racing.
Cindy's Oliver, Rockstar Patriot, Paul Stewart, back-to-back with Rockstar Patriot in the Galaxy.
Handsome Prince, a bolder clear. The former Tasmanian Handsome Prince has won the $1 million chase.
Simon Told Helen wins a half length. Zach Manelli second.
Welcome to Greyhound Gossip.
Peaky Blinders start cheering for Tommy Shelby wins the WA Sprint Championship final.
Featuring Peter O'Neill.
Mozza moves up to Mermaid Manelli. Fab's Gem 3 deep. Here comes Fab's Gem.
Hard Style Rico by 5 lengths to Simon Told Helen. Third Tommy Shelby.
This segment is dedicated to the discussion and promotion of greyhound racing.
Cindy's Oliver, Rockstar Patriot, Paul Stewart, back-to-back with Rockstar Patriot in the Galaxy.
Handsome Prince, a bolder clear. The former Tasmanian Handsome Prince has won the $1 million chase.
Such a big night out.
Greyhound racing started in Western Australia on December 12th, 1974. This year we celebrate the 50th anniversary of greyhound racing in WA and remember some of the stars that have given us so much enjoyment over the years. Miata was the highest Australian stake earner in 2013, winning 42 times from 51 starts and over 715,000 in stakes. She held the track records at the Old Cannington for 530 metres, 642 metres and 715 metres. The Brilliant Bitch won 2 Group 1 Galaxy finals and was a dual Australian Greyhound of the Year.
She was unwanted as a pup and she's going to become the greatest ever stake earner in Australian greyhound history. Listen to the roar of the crowd. She wins by 20 lengths.
From all of us at TAB Radio Racing and Sport, thank you to all of those participants and the greyhounds that have made WA greyhound racing a big night out.
Certainly has been a big night out, and it's been a big 50 years of greyhound racing. Started back in December 1974 and of course continues to grow, and we celebrate on the 8th of December this year the 50 years of WA greyhound racing. And a gentleman that has been with me through Greyhound Gossip from the very start, and we started back in 1996-97. I remember Prince of Tigers winning the Derby that year and going on to win the National Sprint Champion, is one of the greats of Australian greyhound racing. His name is the Guru, Gary Wilson, and he joins us on Greyhound Gossip on this Monday morning. GK, how are you?
I'm going very well, my friend.
I was about to say good evening because that's what we did many years ago. We'd have a segment, didn't we, on a Thursday, yes, that we would. I'd give you a call Thursday afternoon, and we'd go through the 12 races on the Saturday night program, and regularly you'd tip many winners.
Yeah, but that's because I had a spinning wheel. Like I'd spin the wheel, and that's how the numbers would come up, you see.
Yeah, but we don't have to tell the listeners that because a lot of them would follow your selections, Gary. They were good days, weren't they? And you've always had a love for greyhound racing. Before I get to how you actually got involved in greyhound racing, let's go back to the very start for those that don't know your story. And, of course, you were born in New South Wales, and after a few months, unfortunately, you swallowed a dummy and you had to be rushed to hospital. And tell us that story.
Well, I choked on the dummy, and when the doctor, they raced me to the doctor, and instead of the doctor just grabbing a pair of forceps or whatever and plucking it out, he put his hand down my throat and pushed it down further. And I was in a coma then for 3 months. And the doctor said, well, look, if he does survive, which is doubtful, he's going to be a vegetable. Yeah, but luckily, I've made a bit of a recovery, and I'm not really a veggie at the moment.
No, and of course you went on to go through schooling. You wanted to learn to walk, and while the oxygen starved your brain back in those early days, and you had cerebral palsy, you wanted to walk like the other kids in school. And your dad would what would he do to teach you to walk?
Well, he'd say, "Come on, you can do it, and he'd have a rolled up newspaper. And he'd give me a bit of a whack on the bum, and it would get me going. You know, looking back, no way was he cruel. He was just trying to get me motivated.
It was a tougher life back then, wasn't it, Gary?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, but they'd done a good job.
You probably kindly say that you weren't that keen on school, but you loved racing. Tell us how you got involved first of all in greyhound racing.
Well, I was involved in greyhound racing. You know, when this guy walked past my house one day, and his name was I think Jack Brand or something, and I said, "Oh, what kind of dog's that?" He said, "Oh, it's a greyhound." He said, "I'll bring him up on your front veranda. You can say hello to him." Well, that was the end of it for me. I become addicted. And I said, "Oh, Dad, can you get me a greyhound dog?" And that was the start of the dog that I just loved so much.
Yep. Now, you also loved rugby league, and you would go along to many of the rugby league games. You got to know a lot of the media personalities back then, and you'd actually sit next to them while they were commentating the games.
All the time. Yeah, it was the Penrith. I was the mascot of the Penrith Panthers, and I got to know a lot of the people that were sitting for the want of another word, trackside, and while they're doing the broadcast, and I'm sitting there doing the broadcast as well.
Yeah, you were the mascot for who?
The Penrith Panthers.
The Penrith Panthers, who, of course, had a lot of success in recent years. Do you still support them?
Oh, of course. They well, once you support them, you virtually support them forever.
Back to greyhounds. Tell us about your involvement and how you started travelling to the different tracks, and you ended up becoming an owner of a greyhound. Tell us about your first involvement and how that came about.
I became involved with greyhound racing. I got myself my first dog. My dad got me a dog, and luckily, the dog turned out to be a real good dog. I had a dog. What was it? I used to stay with a dog trainer called Jeff Watt.
Yep.
And his father was the trainer of a dog called Zoom Top, the highest state-winning greyhound dog ever.
Back in the day, yeah.
I used to stay at their house. They'd look after me, shower me, everything, and nothing to trouble. And from then on, I was just addicted to greyhound racing.
He offered to give you a pup back in the early days, didn't he? And to make the decision, you said, "Can you just put me in the corner?" And he'd picked out a greyhound for you, and you had this woolly greyhound that came up and licked you on the face.
Yeah, that was with a trainer, Alan Chauncey.
Alan Chauncey, yep.
Yeah, he trained.
Wasn't it through the Watts though? Was it
the Watts?
Was it through the Watts that you got to meet him?
No, I think it was. I think it was the other way around. I'm not quite sure, but I just know that Jeff Watt was so good. He'd put me in the back of the truck, and I'd be laying or sitting next to the dogs that have just been racing, right?
Yep.
And you put them in the van, and we're all in the van together. You know, and they greyhounds have got the most wonderful nature you'd ever imagine, and I just began addicted to them.
So those two greyhounds, Wooly Wilson and the other one was called Pace-O-Matic, and they went on to become stars of Australian greyhound racing back in those early 70s.
Yeah, Wooly Wilson was a very good dog. He won 52 races, and at that time he was the highest stake-winning greyhound dog ever. So, you know, we were happy, and that was it. So Dad went and bought me a couple of dogs, and I got some off Jeff Watt and that. They all become good dogs, and it just kept me rolling.
Gary, is the story true that as a young boy you jumped on a bus and you decided to go from Sydney and you ended up at the greyhound track at Albion Park?
Albion Park. Oh,
was it the Albion Park or the Gabba back then?
Oh, that was the Gabba.
The Gabba.
Yeah, and then Mum says, Mum would say, "Where's Gary?" And Dad would say, "Well, how do we know? We wouldn't know. No one knows where he is, but he'll be at some racetrack, cheering some dog on." And sure enough, I went to I went to all over the place. Yeah, you went to the Gabba and you met the race caller, and he said, "I've got Gary Wilson sitting next to me," and that's how your parents realised you're up in Queensland. That's exactly right. Yeah, I remember the story better than you, Gary. Now let's go forward a few years. How did you come across to Western Australia? Was it because of the fact that you had cerebral palsy and you came across here to WA? No, it wasn't really. It was this guy. I called Henry Johnson, right? He used to live at Rocky Bay, and I used to stay at Rocky Bay, but the guy who used to shower me and dress me and look after me, he used to ask. He was a school teacher. But after work, he'd come straight home and do the dogs and dress me and shower me and nothing else for the trouble. And from then on, we just they just looked after me like family members. And you decided to stay in WA? Yeah, I decided. I must admit, I've never really wanted to go back home to New South Wales. So you got to stay here, and you've seen some very good greyhounds. You became involved, I said, in Greyhound Gossip with myself and David Short for many, many years back in the late 90s and all the way through the year 2000. I think we're celebrating 27 years. This will be our final year of Greyhound Gossip this year. But we've seen some great dogs, haven't we, over the time? Can you remember and maybe tell our listeners some of the better dogs that you remember from WA? Well, some of the better dogs I've seen in WA. Well, one was, what's his name? Laddie the Star. Yep. Jerry O'Keefe. Jerry O'Keefe. And he was a nice guy as well. And there was a host of other good dogs, but there's too many for me to remember. All right, I'll go through a few names and you can tell me whether you saw them race or not. Do you remember Sandy's mum? Were you here then when she raced? Yeah. She was a great bitch. Very, very, very. That was, who trained that dog? Jerry O'Keefe. Yeah, he was a nice guy. I got on with him very well. And, of course, she went on to win 2 national sprint championships, of which WA's had a pretty good strike rate over the years. Afro Freeway was trained by the late Keith Harding. He would have given you a bit of a ribbing through the years when he was alive. I was a great guy. What's his name? I remember one day he shouted at the bar, right? And all of a sudden, he put $20 on the bar.
Yep.
And next minute, he must have thought, well, this is too much. So he put the $20 back and just took out $10. It was so funny.
You also had a close association with a trainer that dominated in Western Australia for many, many years. Linda Britton and her partner Chris Holst, they were very good to you for many, many years, and you even had some good greyhounds with them.
They're still good to me. They're still very, very, very good to me. You know, they that many times they let me stay at their house. They gave me a shower. They fed me. Never ever complained, and well, even today, they're the same. They look after me beautifully.
Did you see race Regimite, who Linda trained, and he won, of course, the first ever national or the Sandown shootout across at Sandown?
Yeah, Regimite was a good dog. I think I was actually staying in New South Wales at that time, but Regimite was a great dog.
She also trained a very good stayer by the name of Paradise Street, who dominated WA training ranks, staying ranks for a long period of time.
Yeah, she'd had that many good dogs. Yeah, I just can't remember them.
Miata?
Oh, yeah, Paul Stewart. What a good dog. He was a very, very good dog, Miata.
Who was your favourite, and who we're going to announce on the 8th of December the top 10 WA sprinters and the top 10 WA stayers, the number one greyhound of all time. If I put you on the spot, who would be your number one of all time in WA greyhound racing history?
Oh, I'd say Miata.
She was very good, wasn't she?
She was a champion, very good. And also trained by a great guy.
Paul Stewart.
Paul Stewart. Yeah, a nice guy.
And, of course, before we let you go this morning, I just wanted to reminisce on some of the great people in the sport as well. And because of the fact that you've had cerebral palsy and you're 90% blind, you've had a lot of people that have supported you. Of course, your lovely wife, Norma, still to this day. But guys that have worked with me, and you've loved the media, but Craig Evans was a great supporter of yours and still is to today.
Yeah, he still is today. He's a wonderful human being, Craig Evans. And what I remember going to Singapore with him and his wife, and he looked after me and showered me and dressed me. Nothing was ever a problem. And that's just an example of how people have been so good to me. And,
of course, your greatest supporter and a man that will always be alongside you is David Simonetti.
We've been friends for so many years, and he's just a wonderful human being.
You looking forward to getting along to the celebration party?
Of course, I'll be there for sure.
All right. Great to have you on Greyhound Gossip, and from all your supporters over the years, right the way back for when you used to tip winners. I don't think you've tipped a winner for 22 years, but when you used to tip winners, Gary, just joking. When you tip winners back in the day, people made a lot of money out of just listening to you on Greyhound Gossip. So thanks for being a great friend, and also thanks for supporting us through greyhound racing over the many years.
You're very, very welcome, and I'm very, very, very happy for having come over here for a holiday.
It's gonna be such a big night out.
Greyhound racing started in Western Australia on December 12th, 1974. This year we celebrate the 50th anniversary of greyhound racing in WA and remember some of the stars that have given us so much enjoyment over the years. Electra excited the WA crowds in the mid-2000s, dropping out of the boxes and charging home to salute, winning 20 times in WA, including the 2008 Galaxy for the late Hall of Fame trainer Keith Harding.
Down the outside, Electra's flooding home. Electra over the top has gone up. Electra, the WA star has won.
From all of us at TAB Radio Racing and Sport, thank you to all of those participants and the greyhounds that have made WA greyhound racing a big night out.
Certainly has been a big night out, and 50 years of WA Greyhound racing we're celebrating coming up on the 8th of December. So looking forward to catching up with a lot of our participants. Then, of course, we'll be naming on that night the top 10 WA sprinters and the top 10 WA stayers of all time. So make sure you stay tuned. And as we mentioned with Gary, we'll be wrapping up Greyhound Gossip over the next couple of weeks, and we have been going since 1996, 1997, and love supporting and promoting greyhound racing, not only here in Western Australia, but around Australia as well. And look forward to the continuation and the dominance of greyhound racing for many, many more years to come.
What are you really gambling with? For free and confidential support, visit gamblinghelpline.org.au.